The meeting will please come to order. I would ask everyone to stand for the invocation and remain standing for the Pledge of Allegiance. Tonight's invocation is being offered by Council Member Jason Potts.
Thank you, Vice Mayor. Let's pray. Father, thank you for allowing us to gather here this evening, for your many blessings, family, friends, and the measure of health that we need to fulfill our calling. For the brave men and women who have and continue to sacrifice for our freedom to conduct business as a body. As we make a decision on this evening's agenda and those in the future, Father, give us the wisdom and guidance to do what is pleasing to you and in the best interest of those who live, work, and play in our beloved city. It is to you that I give the glory and praise. In your name I pray. Amen.
Of the United States of America, and to the republic for which it stands, one nation under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
Without objection, we'll suspend the calling of the roll and ask the clerk to record the names of the members present throughout the meeting. Is there a motion to adopt the minutes of our November 4th meeting? We have a motion and a second. Without any objection, the minutes will stand approved as written. Madam Clerk, are there any messages from the mayor?
There are no messages from the mayor.
Thank you. We have one presentation tonight, Councilmember Edith Langster with Councilmember Megan Berry.
Thank you very much. I would like to ask the family we're honoring to please join me, and along with Attorney Tom White, please. While they're coming forward, I want to thank Councilmember Megan Berry for taking my place in reading this wonderful proclamation. I had my eyes dilated early this afternoon, and my sight has not returned, so I hope I vote right tonight on everything. At this time, and also I would like to also especially thank Attorney Tom White. Attorney White was the one that brought this family to me, brought the information to me, and as Megan reads it, you'll see why this is such an important proclamation, and I present it with much pride. At this time, Councilmember Berry.
Thank you, Council Lady. This is resolution number RS 2014-1230. It's a resolution proclaiming October 9th, 2014 as Pandas Awareness Day. Whereas it is the custom of the Metro City Council to recognize official days that are set aside to increase awareness of serious illness that affect the lives of the citizens of Nashville and Davidson County. And whereas Pandas, PIT and PANS Awareness Day was created to increase awareness of illnesses that can seriously affect the healthy outcome of a child's life. And whereas a diagnosis of PANDAS or PANS means a child has a sudden dramatic change in personality displayed as an obsessive compulsive disorder together with accompanying symptoms following a strep, bacterial, or viral infection. The OCD can display as intense fear or anxiety. Accompanying symptoms may include tics, anxiety, depression, behavioral regression, deterioration in school performance, sensory sensitivities, severely restricted food intake, and more. And whereas PandasNetwork.org is a 501c3 nonprofit corporation dedicated to improving the diagnosis and treatment of children with PANS, Pandas Network is also a conduit for researchers to navigate collaborations in the medical community to find information. And whereas this illness is recognized by the National Institute of Mental Health and is imperative that there be greater public awareness of this health issue, and more must be done to increase activity at the local, state, and national levels. Whereas it is fitting and proper, the Metro Council proclaim October 9th as Pandas Awareness Day in Nashville and in Davidson County.
Thank Thank you, Mayor Dean, Vice Mayor Neighbors, Council Lady Edith Lankster, Metro Council members, Attorney Tom White, and the citizens of Nashville. Our beautiful niece, Emmeline, is a straight-A student. She's an amazing volleyball player and the lead actress in school plays. She has gone from singing solos in front of her entire school to barely being able to function in everyday life. Her childhood at this moment has basically been stolen from her. Her first episode with Pandas was 5 years ago when she was 6 years old. Literally, she woke up one day with a complete onset of OCD and separation anxiety. It was like a light switch that went off, and she was a completely different child. That episode only lasted 2 months, and she recovered by treating her with high doses of antibiotics. My brother-in-law was doing all the research and having to tell their pediatrician about how to treat her. The doctor was unaware of how to treat Emmeline. Here we are again 5 years later, and she is 12 years old. Emmeline has relapsed. She has had another strep infection 9 months ago, and unfortunately, our family has been suffering through this trying to get her better. We don't have time to tell you the journey that we have taken, but currently, my sister and brother-in-law and Emmeline are in Tampa, Florida. They would be here tonight, but they had to leave Sunday to go to Tampa to seek intensive inpatient therapy for the OCD that has set into her brain. When the strep crosses over the brain barrier, it attacks the part of the brain that causes this, and her antibodies don't fight it, so that's why her behavior changes. They will be there for about 60 days. This devastating syndrome desperately needs additional awareness. It is likely as prevalent as pediatric cancer and pediatric diabetes, yet research and education is scarce, perhaps because it involves mental health, something that is difficult to diagnose. In 2012, the CDC stated it is estimated that 13 to 20% of children living in the United States will experience a mental disorder in any given year. Thank you for this time to approve Pandas Awareness Day.
Thank you very much. Next on our agenda is a proposed amendment to Rule Number 23 of the Rules of Procedure of the Metropolitan Council. Councilmember Glover.
Yes, thank you, Vice Mayor. I'd move approval.
I need to get a
Committee reports.
Councilman Harmon.
Thank you, Vice Mayor. The Rules, Confirmations, and Public Elections Committee met and recommended approval, 4 in favor, 0 opposed.
Thank you.
Thank you, Vice Mayor.
Glover.
Sorry about that. Now I move for approval.
We have a motion and a second. We'll need a machine vote. We need a machine vote. If you are in the chamber, please vote yes, no, or abstain, please. Madam Clerk, please close the machine and tally the vote. Try again.
I have 34, not against, 2 abstentions.
The motion passes. Next, we're at elections and confirmations. Councilmember Harmon.
Thank you, Vice Mayor. The Rules, Confirmations, and Public Elections Committee met and considered the appointment of Mr. Michael Jones to the Community Corrections Advisory Board. We recommended approval, 4 in favor, none opposed. We also considered the reappointment of Ms. Anna Page to the MDHA and recommended approval, 4 in favor and none opposed. And we considered the appointment of Mr. Mark Rowan to NECAT and recommended approval, 4 in favor, none opposed. And I would move their approval.
We have a motion and a second. All in favor, please say aye. Aye. Opposed, no. Motion passes. When I call your name, please stand and remain standing. Michael Jones, Anna Page, and Mark Rowan. On behalf of the entire Metropolitan Council, thank you for your willingness to serve our great city and to volunteer your time. Thank you very much. We are now at resolutions on public hearing. First is RS 2014-1287, exempts Beer Fest located at 117 28th Avenue North from the minimum distance requirement for obtaining a beer permit. Councilmember Langster.
Thank you, Vice Mayor. Move to open the public hearing, please.
I need a committee report. Okay. Please raise your hand if you're in support. Please raise your hand if you're in opposition. Seeing no one on either side, the public hearing is closed. Councilmember Langster.
Yes, Vice Mayor, could we have a committee report?
Councilmember Baker.
Thank you, Vice Mayor. Public safety beer regulated beverages deferred by rule.
Thank you. Councilmember Langster.
I would like to ask for a suspension of the rules, and Mr. Cooper, Attorney Cooper, could explain why the emergency.
Councilmember Langster was unable to be at the committee meeting yesterday. She had requested that a letter be prepared by our office asking the committee to approve. That letter did not get to the committee in time, and so they had adjourned before that letter got there, so it was deferred by rule.
Is there any objection to a suspension of the rule? Seeing none, Councilmember Langster.
Move for approval, please.
We have a motion and a second. All in favor, please say aye. Aye. Opposed, no. Motion passes.
Thank you.
Next is RS 2014-1288, exempts Butcher Town Hall located at 1416 4th Avenue North from the minimum distance requirements for obtaining a beer permit. Councilmember Gilmore.
Thank you, Vice Mayor. Committee reports.
Councilmember Baker.
Thank you, Vice Mayor. Public safety beer and regulated beverages voted 4 in favor, 0 against.
Thank you. Councilmember Gilmore.
Thank you. Move to open the public hearing.
Please raise your hand if you're in support. Thank you. Please raise your hand if you're in opposition. Seeing no one in opposition, does anyone in support wish to speak? Seeing none, the public hearing is closed. Councilmember Gilmore.
Thank you, Vice Mayor. I move for approval with a brief comment.
We have a motion and a second.
I just want to say that we're really excited about Butchertown coming to Germantown. So we're really excited. We know that they do the pharmacy. They do a wonderful job. So we welcome them as our neighbors. Thank you.
All in favor, please say aye. Aye. Opposed, no. Motion passes. We're now at resolutions on the consent agenda. I will tell you first the ones that are not on the consent agenda. RS 2014-1269, 1289, and 1300. Those have already been pulled from the consent agenda. Those on the consent agenda are 1290 through 1299, and as we do, I will read these, and then you can tell me which ones need to be pulled, if any. 1290 approves an application for a state grant for Homeland Security preparedness activities. 1291 approves a state grant to the Metro Police Department for continuation of an enhanced DUI enforcement initiative. 1292 approves a clinical affiliation agreement between Montlow State Community College and the Metro Fire Department for students enrolled in the Emergency Medical Services Program. 1293 approves an intergovernmental agreement between the Metro Police Department and the State Department of General Services to use space inside the West Precinct for the Tennessee Driver's License Kiosk Facility. 1294 approves a contract between the Metro Board of Health and United Neighborhood Health Services to provide medical services to homeless clients of the Health Department. 1295 approves an agreement between the Metro Board of Health and the State Department of Human Services to pay Health Department for voluntary paternity acknowledgments. 1296 authorizes Powell Construction Studio, LLC, to construct and install an aerial encroachment at 904 Main Street. 1297 approves the election of notaries public for Davidson County. 1298 honors John Holmes on his 20th anniversary as Artistic Director of the Nashville Opera. 1299 recognizes local Davidson County small businesses and merchants and proclaims Saturday, November the 29th, 2014 as Small Business Saturday. Do any of these need to be pulled? Seeing none, I need committee reports. Councilmember Garrett.
Thank you, Madam Vice Mayor. Budget and Finance approved 1290, 1291, 1294, 1295, and 926, 8, and 04.
Thank you. Councilmember Gilmore.
Thank you, Vice Mayor. Health, Hospitals, and Social Services Committee approved Resolution 2014-1294, Resolution 2014-1295, 7 recommended for approval with none opposed, and it's the same for 1294 and 1295.
Thank you. Councilmember Hunt.
Thank you, Vice Mayor. The Planning, Zoning, and Historical Committee approved Resolution 1293 and 1296, 10 for, 0 against.
Thank you. Councilmember Baker.
Thank you, Vice Mayor. Public Safety Bill Regulated Beverages approved 1290, 1291, 1292, 1293, 4 in favor, 0 against.
Thank you. Councilmember Allen.
Thank you, Madam Vice Mayor. Public Works approved Resolution 1296, 5 in favor, none against.
Thank you. Councilmember Harmon.
Thank you, Vice Mayor. Rules approved 1297, 1298, and 1299, 4 in favor and none opposed, and I would move approval of the consent agenda.
We have a motion and a second. All in favor of the consent agenda, please say aye. Opposed, no. Motion passes. We will now go back to those resolutions that were not on the consent agenda. First is RS 1240-1269, extends the term of the Study and Formulating Committee. Councilmember Weiner.
Thank you. I would like to ask Rich about 4 questions. I need to move it first. Move approval.
Second. We have a motion and a second.
I got ahead of myself, I'm sorry.
It's okay.
So I would like to ask Rich about 4 questions and have him address us with some answers, if that's okay. So, Rich, if you don't mind, if you would review the purpose and the authority of the committee and share if there's any expense tied to this. Third, explain the steps that we must go through once the committee makes its recommendation for those recommendations to become effective. And are we going to be looking at existing employees or future employees? Now sit down.
Okay. I'll try to remember all 4 questions, and help me if I fail to answer them all. The Study and Formulating Committee is a structure that's established under the Metro Charter that requires periodic looks at city benefits. I think that it was a extremely wise provision put into the charter because it requires a city to look at important issues on at least every 5 years, if not more often. And I think often we hear statements made about how we don't want Nashville to become like picking on Detroit or some other cities. And I think this is one of the reasons why we're not, because we're fundamentally sound, because we do have this committee and these committees looking at the system of benefits that the city has. So the committee is appointed by the mayor and confirmed by the council, and is tasked with, it's a broad mandate, and they're tasked with looking at and reviewing the pensions and other health care benefits that are given to Metro employees and Metro retirees. That's their charge, and then they are to go out and do their work. And what we're asking here for is a couple additional months. They have a year to do, typically they have a year to do their service. In this instance, they spent a considerable amount of their early time on one issue that was requested specifically by the council. And so they got a little bit behind in terms of timing, and so they're asking for a couple more months to improve, to finish their work, which will be completed, I believe the resolution says no later than March 31st. The committee, the Study and Formulating Committee, is simply a recommending body. They have no authority. They simply look at plans and make comments and issue a report. If they make any recommendations, those recommendations then must be acted on by the Employee Benefit Board for a recommendation, and then ultimately any change in benefits has to be approved by this body. The Metro Council has final say-so over any issue dealing with employee benefits. And I think, lastly, I think the scope of their work has been on really looking at any changes that might be appropriate for future employees. I don't think anyone is looking to take away any benefits from existing employees or from those, especially those employees that have vested or retired. So it's simply, I think, a financially prudent thing to do to look at this. This is a big item in our budget. It's one of the largest, if not the largest single item in our budget on an annual basis, and that's what the purpose of their work is, and their scope is really designed towards looking out into the future, many years down the road, to make sure that our pension system and our health care retiree system are fiscally sound, and that's really an important thing for this government. I hope, Councilor Wiener, did I get them all?
One last question. Is there an expense tied to this? And if so, what is it?
I believe there's about a $100,000 budget that was approved for the Study and Formulating Committee work, and that's really for any additional work from our actuaries and healthcare consultants.
Thank you.
Councilmember Garrett.
Thank you, Madam Vice Mayor. We all know this has been a little political. We've had several telephone calls. I just hope that those individuals that are involved in the political side of this, that I was going to ask that Rich, that if we extend this to March the 31st, that the administration makes a commitment that we'll not ask to go any further than the 31st, and everybody knows it has to come back before us. I appreciate all of those groups that have actually are concerned with this. Everybody here knows that the unions are concerned with this, and all the employees are, and everybody in this council would be, and I don't mind talking to those individuals at all. So with the commitment from the administration that 31st of March is the last day, I would hope that we support this, and it will end there. Thank you.
Thank you. All in favor, please say aye. Opposed, no. We'll need a machine vote. Madam Clerk, please close the machine and tally the vote.
I have 16 for, 17 against, 0 abstentions.
Motion fails. Next is RS 2014-1289. Approves an Economic and Community Development Incentive Grant to the Industrial Development Board for the benefit of Bridgestone America, Inc. and its subsidiaries. Councilmember Gilmore.
Thank you, Vice Mayor. Committee reports, please.
Councilmember Garrett.
Oh, 1289, ma'am?
Yes, please.
1289 the motion was to defer to track with the pilot ordinance, 8-0.
Thank you. Councilmember Gilmore.
Okay, thank you. Move to defer so that it can track.
We have a motion and a second. Is it a one-meeting deferral?
I don't know, this is the first I've heard of it.
Okay.
Thank you.
Okay, we have a motion for a one-meeting deferral and a second.
All right then, thank you.
All in favor, please say aye. Opposed, no. Motion passes. The last one not on the consent agenda is RS 2014-1300. Supports efforts to reduce greenhouse gas emissions and support President Obama's Clean Power Plan to reduce carbon pollution from power plants. Councilmember Westerholm.
Thank you, Madam Vice Mayor. I would move approval with brief comment.
I need a committee
sorry.
report. Councilmember Harmon.
Thank you, Vice Mayor. The Rules, Confirmations, and Public Elections Committee considered RS 2014-1300 and approved a motion to defer by rule, 4 in favor, 0 opposed.
So it was deferred by rule.
Okay.
That's correct.
Okay, Councilmember Westerholm.
I would defer by rule.
We have a motion to defer. Second, all in favor, please say aye. Opposed, no. Motion passes. We're now at bills on introduction and first reading. Are there any of these that need to be pulled? Bills on first reading, any that need to be pulled?
Thank you, Madam Vice Mayor and members of council. I would like to move to, sorry.
Which ones do you want to pull? What numbers?
I'm sorry, I'm having a technical difficulty with my device. I'm sorry, thank you. I would like to move 2014-948, 2014-949, and 2014-950.
Those are the ones you want to pull?
I'd like to pull,
Okay, we
yes,
will
ma'am.
pull those. Any others that need to be pulled? Is there a motion for all other bills on introduction and first reading? We have a motion and a second. All in favor, please say aye. Opposed, no. Motion passes on the bills on introduction and first reading. We will now go back to BL 2014-948. It approves an amendment to the 5 Points redevelopment plan. Councilmember Wester. And 949 changes OR 20 to R6 for properties located at 1103, 1105 Holly Street, 50 feet east of South 11th and within the Laughlin Springs East End Neighborhood Conservation Overlay and the 5 Points Redevelopment District. 950 changes OR 20 to R6 for properties located at 1101 and 1103 Shelby Avenue at the northwest corner of Shelby Avenue and South 11th Street and located within the Laughlin Springs East End Neighborhood Conservation Overlay and the 5 Points Redevelopment District. Councilmember Westerholm.
Thank you, Madam Vice Mayor. With your approval, I'd like to move all of them. Correct. I'd like to move all three of these forward and then have them on the public hearing for February.
Is there a second? Second. Okay, the motion is for approval and then to defer to the public hearing in February. Councilmember Duvall.
Thank you, Madam Chairman. I've got to speak against Bills 948 and 949. We got an email from Miss Duggar. Is 50 tied to this as well? I didn't think it was. If it is, then I'm going to speak against all three bills. The very least we owe is the courtesy when we're rezoning property to meet with the people that own that property and to tell them what we're doing. And it's obvious this didn't happen. So I'm going to, not only I'm going to vote against it, I'm speaking against it, and I think that this bill should be voted down. Peter, you need to go back and meet with these people and bring it back once they agree to getting their property rezoned. It's the wrong way to do things. Thank you.
Councilmember Barry.
Thank you, Vice Mayor. I don't know how I'm going to ultimately vote on this, but from a process perspective, the council member has asked for approval. He's also said that he will wait until February. There's plenty of time for him to talk, and then we can all as a council decide whether to vote this up or vote this down. But customarily on first reading, we do actually move bills. Thank you.
Any other discussion? All in favor of the three bills, please say aye.
Aye.
Opposed, no. Motion passes. We're now at bills on second reading. BL 2014-925 amends the Metro Code to adopt regulations for pedicabs and pedal carriages. Councilmember Allen.
Thank you, Madam Vice Chair. I'll give the committee report, or are there others as well?
There are others,
Okay.
and I'll let you do yours last.
Okay.
Councilmember Harrison.
Thank you, Vice Mayor. Traffic and parking, at the request of the sponsor, deferred this for one meeting.
Councilmember Banks.
Convention and Tourism said 6-0 for one meeting deferral.
Councilmember Garrett.
This is 925.
Yes.
Budget Finance moved to defer 8-0, ma'am.
Thank you. Councilmember Allen.
Public Works voted to defer one meeting at the request of the sponsor, and I move to defer one meeting.
I have a motion and a second. All in favor of the one meeting deferral, please say aye.
Aye.
Opposed, no. Motion passes. BL 2014-926 authorizes Metro Water Services to subsidize the cost of rain barrels from Metro residents. Councilmember Bennett.
Committee reports, please.
Councilmember Allen.
Public Works voted in favor, 5-4, 0 against.
Councilmember Garrett. (926)
Budget Finance approved 8-0, ma'am.
Thank you.
Move approval.
We have a motion and a second. All in favor, please say aye.
Aye.
Opposed, no. Motion passes. BL 2014-927 amends the Geographic Information System Street and Alley Centerline layer by naming the private road accessing Harpeth Trace condominiums Harpeth Trace Summit. Councilmember Evans.
Committee reports, please.
Councilmember Hunt.
Thank you, Vice Mayor. Planning, Zoning, Historic approved, deferred by rule, Bill 927.
Councilmember Harrison.
Thank you, Vice Mayor. Traffic and parking approved this bill 3-4 and 0 against.
Councilmember Allen.
Thank you, Vice Mayor. Public Works voted to defer by rule.
Councilmember Evans.
And Vice Mayor, if I could have a suspension of the rules to move approval, and with my apologies to the committees, we had a big meeting last night in Green Hills and I got distracted.
Is there any objection? We have an objection.
The bill comes at the request of the Public Works Department for the purposes of clarifying the emergency response, the map for emergency response.
We've had one objection. Two. It's deferred by rule. 2014-928 accepts permanent and temporary easements for the Bell Road Stormwater Improvement Project for properties located at 550 and 554 Bell Road. Councilmember Dow.
Committee reports.
Councilmember Hunt.
Thank you, Vice Mayor. Planning, Zoning, Historical approved Bill 928, 10-4, 0 against.
Councilmember Allen.
Thank you, Vice Mayor. Public Works approved 5-4, 0 against.
Councilmember Dow.
I move for approval.
We have a motion and a second. All in favor, please say aye.
Aye.
Opposed, no. Motion passes. BL 2014-929 accepts permanent and temporary easements for the Tuckahoe Drive Stormwater Improvement Projects for properties at 602, 603, and 605 Tuckahoe Drive and 1114 Rhine Drive. Councilmember Bennett.
Committee reports, please.
Councilmember Hunt.
Thank you, Vice Mayor. Planning and Zoning approved Bill 929, 10-4, 0 against.
Councilmember Allen.
Thank you, Vice Mayor. Public Works approved Bill 929, 5-4, 0 against.
Thank you. Councilmember Bennett.
Move approval.
We have a motion and a second. All in favor, please say aye. Aye. Opposed, no. Motion passes. BL 2014-930 accepts permanent and temporary easements for the County Hospital Road Stormwater Improvement Project for various properties located along County Hospital Road, Doak Road Avenue, and Manchester Avenue. Councilmember Harrison.
Thank you, Vice Mayor. Can I have committee reports, please?
Councilmember Hunt.
Thank you. Planning and zoning approved Bill 930, 10-4-0 against.
Thank you. Councilmember Allen.
Public Works approved Bill 930, 5 in favor, 0 against.
Thank you. Councilmember Harrison.
Thank you. I move for approval.
Have a motion and a second. All in favor, please say aye. Opposed, no. Motion passes. BL 2014-931 accepts permanent and temporary easements for the Wildwood Drive Stormwater Improvement Project for 13 properties located along Rural Hill Road, Rural Hill Circle, and Wildwood Drive. Councilmember Johnson.
Committee reports.
Councilmember Hunt.
Thank you, Vice Mayor. Planning and zoning approved Bill 931, 10-4-0 against.
Thank you. Councilmember Allen.
Thank you, Vice Mayor. Public Works approved Bill 931 as substituted, 5 in favor, 0 against.
Thank you. Councilmember Johnson.
Thank you. Move for approval.
You need to move the amendment.
I'd like to move the amendment, yes.
We have a motion and a second. All in favor of the amendment, please say aye. Aye. Opposed, no. The amendment passes. Councilmember Johnson.
I'd like to move the bill as amended.
We have a motion and a second. All in favor, please say aye. Aye. Opposed, no.
Thank you.
Motion passes. BL 2014-932 accepts permanent and temporary easements for the Cornwall Drive Stormwater Improvement Project for properties located at 6517 and 6525 Brownlee Drive and 6541 Cornwall Drive. Councilmember Evans.
Committee reports, please.
Councilmember Hunt.
Thank you, Vice Mayor. Planning and zoning approved Bill 932, 10-4-0 against.
Thank you. Councilmember Allen.
Thank you, Vice Mayor. Public Works approved Bill 932, 4 in favor, 0 against.
Thank you. Councilmember Evans.
Move approval.
Have a motion and a second. All in favor, please say aye. Aye. Opposed, no. Motion passes. BL 2014-933 accepts permanent and temporary easements for the Kenner Avenue Stormwater Improvement Project for 9 properties located along Kenner Avenue and Innsworth Place. Councilmember Hunt.
Thank you, Vice Mayor. Planning committee reports, please.
Councilmember Allen.
Thank you, Vice Mayor. Public Works approved Bill 933, 5 in favor, 0 against.
Thank you. Now the planning and zoning report.
Planning and zoning approved Bill 933, 10-4-0 against. Move for approval, please.
We have a motion and a second. All in favor, please say aye. Aye. Opposed, no. Motion passes. We're now at bills on third reading. The first one is BL 2014-881, changes .20 acres from RS5 to RM20A zoning for property located at 1223 North 6th Street. Councilmember Scott Davis.
Thank you, Vice Mayor. I'd like to defer until the first meeting in, actually the second meeting in December.
We have a motion for a deferral to the second meeting in December and a second. All in favor of the deferral, please say aye.
Aye.
Opposed, no. Motion passes. BL 2014-896 changes 238.26 acres from RS5 to SP zoning for various properties located in District 5 to allow detached accessory dwelling units with all other standards of the RS5 district being applicable. Councilmember Scott Davis.
Thank you, Vice Mayor. I'd like to move, committee reports, please.
Councilmember Hunt.
Thank you, Vice Mayor. At the request of the sponsor, Bill 896 was deferred for 2 meetings. It was voted to 10-0.
Thank you. Councilmember Scott Davis.
I'd like to move for deferral for 2 meetings with a brief explanation.
Have a motion and a second. Councilman?
I want to thank the planning department for working so hard on these amendments. And I'm going to be having some more community meetings to share the amendments with my populace. And thank you, and have a good evening.
All in favor of the deferral, please say aye. Opposed, no. Motion passes. BL 2014-897 changes 23.87 acres from R10 to RS10 zoning for various properties located along Auburn Lane, Dartmouth Avenue, Tulane Court, and Woodmont Lane, south of Woodmont Boulevard. Councilmember Todd.
Thank you, Vice Mayor. Committee report.
Councilmember Hunt.
Planning and zoning approved Bill 897, 10-4-0 against.
Councilmember Todd.
Thank you. I'd like to defer this for 2 meetings.
We have a motion and a second for a 2-meeting deferral. All in favor, please say aye. Aye. Opposed, no. Motion passes. Without objection, we'll take 898 and 899 together. 898 changes 1.47 acres from CF to SP zoning for properties located at 1707 Broadway and at 109, 115, and 119 and 121 17th Avenue South to permit a mixed-use building of up to 25 stories in height. 899 cancels 1.36 acres of the Music Row Urban Design Overlay District for properties located at 1707 Broadway and at 109, 115, 119, and 121 7th Avenue South. Councilmember Gilmore.
Thank you, Vice Mayor. Committee reports, please.
Councilmember Hunt.
Thank you, Vice Mayor. Planning and zoning approved Bill 898 and 899, 10-4-0 against.
Thank you. Councilmember Gilmore.
Thank you. Move for approval.
We have a motion and a second. All in favor, please say aye. Aye. Opposed, no. Motion passes. BL 2014-900 changes 30.51 acres from R15 to SP zoning for properties located at 645 Old Hickory Boulevard and at 7461 Charlotte Pike to permit up to 322 residential dwelling units. Councilmember Weiner.
Committee reports, please.
Councilmember Hunt.
Thank you, Vice Mayor. Planning and zoning approved Bill 900, 10-4-0 against.
Councilmember Weiner.
I would like to move approval without the briefest of explanation.
We have a motion and a second. Go ahead.
Move approval without the briefest of explanation.
All in favor, please say aye. Aye. Opposed, no. Motion passes. BL 2014-902 amends 1.08 acres of the specific plan district for property located at 5828 Nolensville Pike to permit CS sign standards and an LED sign. Councilmember Blaylock.
Thank you. Committee reports, please.
Councilmember Hunt.
Thank you, Vice Mayor. Planning and zoning approved Bill 902, 8-4-2 against.
Thank you. Councilmember Blaylock.
I move for approval.
We have a motion and a second. Councilmember Claiborne.
Thank you, Vice Mayor. I hate to break the rhythm that we got going here, but I'm going to vote against this bill. When I see that the Planning Commission unanimously disapproves the bill, then that sends up a lot of red flags to me. And I'd like to ask Mr. Bernhardt to explain to us the basis for their vote.
The Planning Commission was responding to the council ordinance which specifically excluded the use of LED signs for auto services like this. That was a specific bill the council passed. They were using the SP to go around that requirement, and the Planning Commission was supportive of the original council ordinance.
So is this within the land use policy for this area?
It is. It was simply a zoning issue as to whether or not it was consistent with the overall council ordinance.
Okay. I remember when we had the public hearing and the applicant spoke, and he made his the basis of his appeal was that there was a hardship with his driveway being located so close to the Walmart parking lot driveway, and that this sign was going to solve that problem. I don't think this sign is going to make a difference
after we heard yesterday that the geography of that area is what it is, I think people are still going to be pulling in there, and this sign's not going to make a difference in whether, we have no guarantee about that. But if that is a hardship, then we have a procedure in place where this applicant could go to the BZA and apply for a hardship to get a variance to do what he wants to do. If we pass this bill to go around the zoning, then we are actually setting a precedent that gives the BZA at some future point a basis for making other exceptions of this nature. I think this is to use a phrase, a slippery slope that we're on here to set precedent for this kind of thing when there are other procedures that are in place where the applicant could accomplish the same thing. So I'm going to vote against this, and I would ask you to seriously consider your vote.
Councilmember Tenpenny. Councilmember Duvall.
Thank you, Madam Chair. I believe I'm going to speak on this, but I believe, as I understand it, the problem with the sign is it's individual letters that are placed on individually, and some of the folks that are going through there are actually taking those letters off of the sign, and they're spelling words that you and I would prefer not to see, nor would many of our neighbors and their children. And the only alternative answer to this is some kind of an electronic sign. I was not involved with this, but I think I understand what's going on in the process. Quite frankly, I don't see where this is any different maybe in an application than it would be where we voted and exempt an area for beer license. We did that just earlier on 2 different ordinances. So I think the council lady took the right direction to approach this, bring it before the council, and I'm going to stand in support of it and vote for it. Thank you.
Councilmember Berry.
Thank you, Vice Mayor. I just had an additional question. Since this is an amendment to the SP, would this be an amendment then that would be only for this piece of property, or would this amend the entire SP for Nolensville?
This would only amend this piece of property.
So this would only be part of this SP? It wouldn't be for anything else?
Correct.
Okay, thanks.
Councilmember Garrett.
Madam Vice Mayor, as an old district council member for 16 years, this council zones, and for y'all, the district council members in here, I love the folks at the Planning Commission, and they only recommend. So for those of you in here that are district council members, this council controls zoning, and I'm supporting the council member.
Councilmember Tenpenny.
Yes, ma'am. Thank you, Vice Mayor. I will support this legislation. I mean, I've been to the location and I've seen the sign. This will help as far as people pulling into that parking lot. It will also make that place a lot safer if for any reason somebody does pull in that parking lot and have to back up. And I do agree with the council member. It's her district. She knows what's going on there. And like I've said, I've been down there and seen the property, and I've seen what that property owner is going through to try to get this done. And I will support this bill. Thank you.
Councilmember Bedning.
Thank you, Vice Mayor. Excuse me. By some weird reason, this is not on my district, but it should be because it's a little chunk of my district that get put on hers. So people in my district tend to tell me, they call me about this place, and most of the phone calls I get about accidents. I mean, people get to accidents all the time coming out of the Walmart, and they get hit by cars coming on Nashville Road. So in any other circumstance, I would agree with my peers that about setting precedents, but because of the circumstances of this place, anything that we can do to take away from doubt as people navigate in and out of this Walmart, I think it's a good idea. So I'm going to support this sign, even though it's against my better judgment, but I think in terms of safety, I think it'll make things better in this just one situation. Thank you.
Councilmember Baker.
Previous question.
We have a motion. You were actually the last one in the queue. So the previous question has been called. We're ready for the machine vote. Madam Clerk.
I have 29 for, 2 against, 2 abstentions.
Motion passes. Next is BL 2014-903, amends .55 acres of the specific plan district for property located at 200 and 202 Osceola Avenue to permit up to 13 dwelling units. Councilmember Baker.
Committee reports, please.
Councilmember Hunt.
Thank you, Vice Mayor. Planning and Zoning Historical approved Bill 903, 10-4, against.
Thank you. Councilmember Baker.
Move approval.
We have a motion and a second. All in favor, please say aye. Aye. Opposed, no. Motion passes. BL 2014-904 changes 2.5 acres from RS-15 to AR-2A zoning for properties located at 4455 Cato Road. Councilmember Matthews.
Thank you, Madam Vice Mayor. Committee report.
Councilmember Hunt.
Thank you, Vice Mayor. Bill 904 was deferred by rule.
Councilmember Matthews.
I move for a one-meeting deferral.
Have a motion and a second. All in favor of the one meeting deferral, please say aye. Aye. Opposed, no. Motion passes. BL 2014-905 changes 3.07 acres from R40 and RS40 to SP zoning for properties located at 6809 and 6813 Charlotte Pike to permit up to 40 dwelling units. Councilmember Tiger.
Thank you, Madam Chair. Committee report.
Councilmember Hunt.
Thank you, Vice Mayor. Planning and Zoning approved Bill 905, 10-0 as substituted.
Thank you. Councilmember Tiger.
I would move the substitute.
We have a motion and a second on the substitute. All in favor, please say aye. Aye. Opposed, no. Substitute passes. Councilman Tiger.
I would move the bill as substituted with a brief explanation.
We have a motion and a second. Councilman Tiger.
Council members, there were some concerns in the neighborhood that we heard on second reading at the public hearing. I want to assure you, on your desk is a copy of a letter I addressed to each of those neighborhood folks that had concerns. I will tell you, as a result of the conversations, the buffering has been increased. The future connection to the side next door parcel has been removed. There is a reduction in density of units. There will be improvements along Charlotte Pike. Certainly rain garden and stormwater improvements are part of the plan. And to the best of our ability, the surrounding property values are protected. Finally, I hope if Council Lady Evans has any more conflicts, she will call Councilman Garrett or Councilman Berry.
Okay, we have a motion and a second. Any other discussion? Does anyone need to abstain from this vote? Councilmember Evans. We will note that you are abstaining. All in favor, please say aye. Aye. Opposed, no. And one abstention. BL 2014-906 changes 2.79 acres from IR to SP zoning for properties located at 1309 3rd Avenue North and 1304 4th Avenue North to permit up to 256 multifamily units. Councilmember Gilmore.
Thank you, Vice Mayor. Committee reports.
Councilmember Hunt.
Thank you, Vice Mayor. Planning and Zoning approved Bill 906, 10-4 against.
Thank you. Councilmember Gilmore.
Thank you, Vice Mayor. I am moving to defer this bill indefinitely at the request of the developer. They have some more things that they would like to work out.
We have a motion and a second on indefinite deferral. All in favor, please say aye. Aye. Opposed, no. Motion passes.
Thank you.
BL 2014-907 changes .39 acres from R6 to SP zoning for properties located at 5600 and 5602 Pennsylvania Avenue to permit up to 9 residential dwelling units. Councilmember Baker.
Thank you, Vice Mayor. Committee reports, please.
Councilmember Hunt.
Thank you, Vice Mayor. Planning and Zoning approved Bill 907, 10-4 against.
Thank you, Councilmember Baker.
Move approval.
Have a motion and a second. All in favor, please say aye. Aye. Opposed, no. Motion passes. BL 2014-908 amends the Metro Code, zoning code to designate cash advance, check cashing, pawn shop, and title loan as uses permitted with conditions and adding conditions applicable to these uses. Councilmember Dow.
Yes, I have a substitute ordinance.
Councilmember Hunt, do you have a committee report?
Yes, ma'am. Planning and Zoning approved Bill 908, 1040 against.
Thank you. Councilmember Dow.
Sorry about that.
No problem.
We've substituted, so I'd like to move the substitute ordinance.
We have a motion and a second on the substitute. All in favor, please say aye. Opposed, no. I have requests to speak. I'm assuming it's on the bill as substituted. Okay, Councilmember Dow, you want to move the bill as substituted?
Yes, I want to move the bill as substituted.
Thank you. Is motion and a second. Councilmember Evans.
Thank you. I got a late question from a constituent who has an interest in this business, and I didn't know the answer, so if I might, for the record, did you address hours of operation in this bill? And because I know around less reputable dealers, there's sometimes crime issues, but did you address hours of operation in the substitute, and is that something that you have considered?
No, hours of operation is not addressed, and I think we talked about this particular piece of legislation that what it does is it enacts a distance requirement essentially so that we can eliminate businesses clustering around each other and having an adverse impact on the community. If I know several other council members have signed on to the legislation. If that's something that you're interested in pursuing with additional legislation, feel free. This bill accomplishes what many of us were most interested in, and it was the distance requirements on it solely.
Thank you very much.
Councilmember Mitchell.
Yeah, I think this question is probably for John Cooper. I'm not opposed to the bill. I don't see, the bill seems good, but I think, John, if we've got people who have already executed leases and they're not getting their permits after they've already executed a lease, this would in fact be regulatory taking of a property right. And I don't know if you're aware of it, there's been a Tennessee State Supreme Court ruling this year in regards to this. Do we need to do something in this piece of legislation to adjust that?
Well, you're correct. The Tennessee Supreme Court this year did recognize regulatory takings as compensable under the Tennessee State Constitution, basically to the same extent as the federal Constitution. This is a new area of law in Tennessee, so there is no case law. The one case that held that did not take a position on whether a regulatory taking had actually taken place. It just said that cause of action could be brought. I think if a property could prove that they could not lease the property to any other type of business, possibly, they could prevail, but that would be, they would have to, it would be hard to prove a regulatory taking, I think. But that is certainly something that could be brought, and there's no real guidance as to how a court would rule in Tennessee.
Councilmember Claiborne.
Thank you, Vice Mayor. I guess my light didn't work before the vote. I just would have liked to know what the substitute said before I was asked to vote.
Sorry, it didn't.
Sorry.
It did not work.
Could we have it explain what the substitute, what's the difference in the substitute and the original bill?
The substitute incorporated some housekeeping changes that the Planning Commission wanted as part of their recommendation, did not change anything substantively in the bill. The other part of the substitute took the 2,500 square foot limitation that was put in the bill, took that out so that it would mirror the existing code, which is where the 2,500 square foot limitation would only apply in the neighborhood zoning districts, MUN, ON, and CN.
Councilmember Glover.
Thank you, Vice Mayor. This question also goes to Mr. Cooper, and I think I know the answer prior to asking. If there's unintended consequences with this bill, this body can come back at any point and amend and correct any of those unintended consequences, could we not?
Yes, sir.
Thank you very much.
Councilmember Langster.
Thank you. Attorney Cooper, since hours were not addressed in this bill, would it take another bill to come back, or are hours already specified? Like one place has 24/7 hours.
Yeah. Since this bill did not address hours of operation, there would need to be separate legislation.
Thank you.
All in favor, please say aye.
Aye.
Opposed, no. Motion passes. BL 2014-922 amends the Metro Code to designate unsolicited, non-biodegradable promotional materials as litter and prohibits the throwing of such materials from a vehicle and on private residential property without the permission of the owner or the resident. Councilmember Weiner.
Thank you, Vice Mayor. I believe that all committee reports are in, so I move approval.
We have a motion and a second. All in favor, please say aye. Opposed, no. Motion passes. BL 2014-923 authorizes the Director of Property Administration to transfer any remaining interest Metro may have in a small section of retained parcel of property located at the corner of Van Buren Street and First Avenue North to the McRedmond Brothers, Inc. Councilmember Gilmore.
Thank you, Vice Mayor. With all committee reports in, I move for approval.
Have a motion and a second. All in favor, please say aye. Opposed, no. Motion passes. BL 2014-924 amends the Geographic Information System street and alley center line layer by abandoning a portion of right-of-way for alley number 233. Councilmember Gilmore.
Thank you, Vice Mayor. With all committee reports in, I move for approval.
Have a motion and a second. All in favor, please say aye. Aye. Opposed, no. Motion passes. Is there a motion to adjourn? So moved. All in favor, please say aye.
Aye.
CN report. Yes.